going? Good afternoon. My name is Azura and I'll be your MC for today. Welcome one, welcome all to the Cadbury Raya baking live stream. Woo-woo! For those of you who are joining us for the first time, you are in for a ride because it's going to be super awesome and super exciting, and you will be baking together with a very special guest. We'll tell you more a little bit. We'll tell you a little bit more. No, we'll tell you more about it later. I can't even speak right now. But for those of you who have joined us the last two sessions, you know how easy it is for us to start baking for our loved ones, right? Okay, so today is our finale live stream, and pretty sad but excited at the same time because right now I think I don't want to waste any more time. I'd like to invite our very special, talented, beautiful, and fun Chef Anis Nabila!
Hello! Can't believe it's our last day
I know, right?
Together.
We've been having so much fun. We baked so many, well, two really awesome recipes, which I myself did not know that I could actually bake.
Yes, and have you tried them yourself?
Yes, I did.
Wow,
I did.
Fantastic.
I know.
Did you find the tips useful?
Of course, very, very useful. And I think we're going to be sharing more tips.
Absolutely.
And maybe we could also repeat the tips for those who just joined us for the very first time.
Definitely. I've got plenty of tips to share with you guys so you guys can bake kue raya dari hati and send it to your loved ones like me. You know, whenever I bake, I'll send it out because I need to go on diet and I have to say this because my PT might be watching.
Exactly. Now, for those of you who are wondering, why are we actually doing this baking live stream? Well, to begin with, Cadbury would like all of us to actually send gifts or start baking so that we can send our cookies and cakes to our loved ones. Because, you know, a lot of us will normally take the easy way out, which is to buy something and just give it to people, right? So now, why don't we do something a little bit different and give it from the heart? So that's why we want to do, to bake kue raya dari hati, because that is the theme for this year's Raya.
Absolutely. And what I love about this whole campaign, this kue raya dari hati campaign, because it comes with these beautiful, really, really cute baking sheets. So this is what we call them, baking sheets. And it's not just a baking sheets with recipe. And I love it so much because you can see it's so easy. You've got little pictures and drawings and such for every step. So it's not like you're not bored just reading the recipe, blah, 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 blah. You actually, you can look at the nice visual. And especially if you're baking with children, right?
Yep.
This is so attractive.
Very. For me, I'm a visual person.
Yes.
So having something like the baking sheets totally help.
Yeah, it's so awesome. And again, I wanted to say why I love it so much, because for those of you who are just starting to bake, you know, you might not have like a full pantry of measuring cups and such. You don't have to fret because most of the ingredients you don't really have to measure. It's not complicated. You don't really need a weighing scale. For instance, the sugar that we would have to measure, actually we're using 70 grams of sugar, caster sugar, but you don't even need a weighing scale for that because you can just cut this out and this will become your mole or your measuring cup, I call it, and you can just measure your sugar from there, like this one. So I've cut it out, and all I need to do is just attach it, and then put a baking paper underneath it. I like to put baking paper. You can also put it in a bowl, anything with flat surface, basically, and then just measure it out.
Yep.
It's as easy as that. And I'm going to show it to you guys a little later when I need to measure out the sugar. But other than that, like for the chocolate, for the Cadbury Dairy Milk Chocolate, I'm using a whole bar. So no need to measure that out. And for the flour, I'm only using 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, not even flour, and 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. So you can just use your regular tablespoon for that. That should be fine. And then for the cream, it's just a little, that small box, which is just 200 ml. Again, no need to measure for that. And the eggs, and we're using a block of cheese.
Yeah,
that's it.
And I think it's easy because, you know, you don't waste at the same time, because sometimes you have to measure, you use half of it, and then when do you use the next half?
Exactly.
So having a recipe that requires you to just use everything is perfect for me, at least, you know. And like Chef was saying just now, it's so exciting and so easy for you to use the baking sheets, because I actually used it for myself and I got my son to help out.
Yeah.
And it's so cool that, you know, Chef, some of them actually baked and they tagged me to show and tell, basically. Say, oh, it's really cool that it's so easy for us to bake with the baking sheets.
Wow, I love that. Why haven't anyone tagged me yet?
Wrong person, you're supposed to tag her too.
Okay, because I want to look at all your beautiful bakes.
Wait, promo time. At Anis Nabila.
Underscore Nabila.
Yes, underscore Nabila.
I forgot. I've been yapping away about all the ingredients and such. I didn't even introduce the dish that we're making. Okay, this is 2 days ago, was it? The last session I mentioned, this is one of my favorite recipes. So we're actually making Cadbury chocolate mini Basque burnt cheesecake.
Ooh.
Absolutely delicious. Now, a little story about Basque burnt cheesecake. It's totally new. It's like maybe 2 years old, or perhaps the recipe's been around for a little while more, but it became famous about 2 years ago. The founder of this recipe, or the creator of this recipe, is actually a chef from a restaurant in Spain. So it's like, if you guys have tried burnt cheesecake, or the actual name is Basque burnt cheesecake, it might not be the most attractive looking dessert, because it does look slightly burnt at the top, but the taste is absolutely fantastic. It's so delicious, because, you know, especially when you do it right, with the creamy center, I'm salivating as I'm speaking, you know, with the creamy center. And that is what I want to try and show today. Like, I want to help you guys achieve that consistency. But we're doing the mini ones today, so it's a little bit slightly different, a lot easier to make. But you can also apply the same recipe for the big one if you like big one. And do you notice, before this, like probably 6-7 years ago, when you talk about Kueh Raya, it's always biscuits or cookies.
Yes. Yep.
But nowadays it's a lot of cakes. Like, the cake trend just started like what, 5-6 years ago. And I think this recipe is so fitting, because we're turning the Basque burnt cheesecake into little tiny cakes, like cupcakes, and it's perfect for giving.
Correct.
For gifting.
Correct.
Yes.
And I'm really excited before we actually get into the whole baking session. And I do remember, sorry, rewind ticket to the story. Suddenly it came to me that I think I must have spoken about this as well, about burnt cheesecake.
Yeah.
And then some of my friends like, oh, maybe because the chef accidentally left the thing in the oven a bit too long, that it became burnt. And it's like, oh, actually it's not that bad. But who knows, right? At the end of the day, as long as it tastes good, that is good for me. Okay, now, for those of you who are actually going to be baking together with Chef, do send out a click on the either a clap, and this is not clap, a thumbs up, a clap, or even a heart, so that we know that you are going to be participating in the baking as well. And thank you for doing that too. And before we also move forward, I'd like to remind everyone that we do have a giveaway that we want to tell you about it. We've got a special or exclusive Shopee vouchers, but of course, more deets at the end of the live stream session later, okay? So in the meantime, let's have fun, let's enjoy, because this is our final baking live stream, and we're sad but excited at the same time, because this is the time you're going to absorb as much information as you can from Chef Anis, because I'm telling you, she's not stingy with her knowledge at all, okay? Be ready. If you're baking and you have a piece of paper and even a pen, write down all the notes that you need to, okay? Because she's going to give it all.
Exactly. And if you guys are baking together, and if you have any doubts, any questions whatsoever, you can just write it to us, and Azura will help me with the questions, and I will try my best to answer them.
Exactly.
All
okay.
right.
Now that we've got everything in order, how about we begin our final baking session?
Don't be sad. I will send you more dessert.
Thank you.
After this, if you want.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear, actually.
All right. So, the first part is so easy. Again, I don't know if you've tried this recipe, have you?
Oh, this one not yet.
All right. This is so easy. I think you will, and you should.
Yeah.
and maybe make a big cake, you know, so you don't have to make the small ones. Super easy. I'm just gonna put 200 ml of cream here in a pot, and I need to heat the pot up.
Okay.
And for this recipe, I'm using whipping cream. If you want a richer consistency, like you want a richer cake, you can also use double cream. So the last session, remember we spoke about cream?
Yep.
How there's like cooking cream and whipping cream and double cream and thickened cream. So there's so many different types of cream. Of course, the ingredients the same. It's essentially milk, but like double cream contains more fat, has a higher fat percentage. The regular whipping cream has a slightly lower fat percentage. And if you look at, you know, there's thickened cream as well.
Yeah.
Thickened cream is good for like sauces, or if you're making mousse and such, because thickened cream, most of the time it contains a little bit of a thickening agent. So for this recipe, if you can't find whipping cream, you can also use double cream.
Double cream.
Yes.
Got it.
All right, so now I'm just going to heat this up. Not too hot because your cream can split.
Can split?
Split, yes. So anything that has, because this is high in fat, right? High in fat content. So what happens if it's introduced to high heat for a very long time, it can split, meaning the fat and the water can separate.
Oh, so you mean you get like a layer?
Yes, and you don't want that because that means it's spoiled. So the only thing you can try and do if it splits is just add vinegar and turn it into cottage cheese. That's all. So you have to be a bit careful when heating your cream, and you can see that it starts bubbling on the side already. So you just want to gently stir it so it doesn't burn at the side of the pot as well.
Okay. So basically, when it starts bubbling, that's when you know it's time to take it off the heat.
Yes. So you don't really want big bubbles. You want bubbles not just on the side, but like
All
a little
around
bit
it, yeah.
in the center as well. But you don't have to it doesn't have to reach 100 degrees Celsius. So now over here I've got my Cadbury Dairy Milk Chocolate, and I'm using a bar. I've already I took it out of the wrapper because I need to chop it into small little pieces like this. So this is so that it's easier to melt later on. For some people, they like malas, right? They just like put a whole chunk, and then the cream won't be hot forever. You know, it cools down pretty quickly because you're only using 200 ml of the cream. So you want it in smaller pieces, so the cream can melt it quickly.
Right. Everyone's watching. If you have any questions, okay, I'd like to remind you, please don't be shy to put your questions on the Zoom chat box, okay? If you're shy also, it's all right. You can DM us and then we'll get it out so that Chef can actually answer it a little bit later. And I actually would like to start with a question first.
Okay.
For example, right? Is it okay if, let's say, I'm too lazy to turn on the heat, or fire, I want to put it in the microwave instead?
You can.
Oh, okay.
You can put it in the microwave, but this is because the last time that's what we did. We heated the cream in the microwave, but today we just want to show people that, you know, no stress. If you don't have a microwave, you can also do this over the stove. And like you mentioned the other day, you can also double boil it, and of course it's a bit more work.
Yeah.
But that is like how normal chefs would do. They would double boil it. But Cadbury Dairy Milk Chocolate is pretty stable, so it doesn't overheat very quickly. It will overheat if you heat it for too long, but it's not as sensitive as certain other chocolate. So now I'm just going to pour the cream into the chocolate.
Yum, yum. Oh, look at that. Wow. Okay.
All right.
It's like so nice to see how it just melts.
So you just want to mix it. There you go. See? It's like almost immediately. You can also switch the heat off, turn the heat off, and add the chocolate into the pot.
Okay.
That's fine too. I'm only doing this so that I can show you guys. It's always nicer to work in a translucent, transparent bowl.
Yeah.
All right, so when it's halfway melted, I like to use a whisk. This is so that I don't have any clumps of chocolate, just like making ganache.
Well, look at that. How it just changes color
Yeah.
so quickly.
This is so much fun. I love doing this. Like making ganache. It's one of my favorite things to do because the chocolate sort of just melts away beautifully.
All right, for our viewers, if this is your first time joining us, don't forget to put it on chat box and say, it's my first time, simply because we just want to see. And again, if you do have any questions, don't be shy to put it up on the chat box, okay? And play around with the Zoom emoticons and even the reactions. Give us a heart, give us a thumbs up, give us a clap, anything at all, so that we know that we are actually interacting, and Chef would would notice as well, you know, what you're actually feeling.
Yeah. And it will feel like we're actually baking together. So it'll feel like I'm in my mom's house, baking with all of you, instead of just a live session, right?
Yep.
All right, this is perfect. Okay. All right. So now the next step is to mix the dry ingredient into our liquid ingredient, which is the chocolate and the cream. So for the dry ingredient over here, I've got 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder mixed with 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Now I've done this part ahead because I don't have a small sift. So you wanna ayak there, or you wanna use a sift to just sift them together, so that you won't get clumps. This is because you're using cornstarch and cocoa powder, and both these ingredients have the tendency of like clumping up.
Right.
Okay, not so much like flour. Like sometimes if I cannot find a sieve, I will just whisk it. But for cocoa powder and cornstarch, you need to use a sieve and sift it lah.
Right.
Okay, so first, what I like to do to avoid it from clumping up is to add a little bit. I wouldn't add all of it in
All
here.
at once.
Actually, you can, but a lot more work for you because dry ingredient goes into wet ingredients. It will be like clumpy, so longer time for you to cook. To mix. So what I like to do is I like to add a bit of this into this first. Okay, just like introduce the dry ingredient to some liquid, and it's easier for you to manage when it's in smaller amount.
Right. So you do the opposite way.
Yes, absolutely. So this is what I like to do when I'm making anything and everything, like pancakes and roti jala. Like slowly introduce some, like the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients, and then only add all of the wet ingredients. So it's easier for you to manage. Right. You see?
Yep. Yeah, definitely. You know, it's like you said, it's more manageable that way.
Yeah.
So these are the little tips that we've been sharing since episode 1, 2, and now 3. Now remember, everybody, the whole point of us doing and showing you this and getting tips from Chef is so that we can start learning and at the same time bake your own. Send it to your friends and family, or even like after Raya, you want to, especially this recipe, right? You can serve it for dessert. You know, you can tell your friends that, hey, I upskilled myself, I actually learned how to bake.
Absolutely. And you say now you've got this nice, beautiful paste. So you want to mix this back into the rest of the chocolate and cream. Ooh. So the recipe says you can just mix it together, which you can, of course, but this will make it so much easier for you to handle, especially if you're a first-time baker. First-time baker sometimes, because I remember like the first time I baked my own cake, I think I was 10 years old. and I read a recipe, and it sounded so easy, the recipe, but obviously, and I followed it down to the T, okay? Like really, like, oh, add flour, do not mix more than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I did all of that, and then I had like clumps of flour in the cake batter. But because the recipe didn't explain that, you know, you shouldn't have clumps of flour and such like that, things like that. And again, it's my first time baking, and I was 10 years old, so I just put it in a pan and I baked it.
Yeah.
Hoping that the clumps of flour will magically disappear. Obviously, it didn't. So my cake turned out like, you know, it had pockets of like flour. It wasn't great.
But you know, you were only 10, you know, and I'm sure your parents were like, oh, this is a beautiful
Oh no,
cake.
I didn't even let them try it. I threw it immediately. So now we're just gonna mix everything together. Look.
Oh,
Nice and silky, and you don't have any of the cornstarch clumps or the cocoa powder. So that's done. I'm gonna get rid of this because this is in my way. All right, so this is the consistency that you're looking for. Just gonna show you guys again.
Nice.
Look at that. It's beautiful. This is what you want. All right, so now we're gonna move to our cheese mixture. Okay, so much fun. This is a really quick recipe, Azura. Like,
Yeah.
Honestly, you can do this like right before buka puasa, and then enjoy it after buka. It's amazing. So I'm gonna use the measuring cup or the mold. I like to call it measuring cup. It's actually called the mold, but I like to call it measuring cup because that's essentially what it does.
Yeah.
You know, it measures stuff for you. And we're gonna measure out the sugar. And in case if this is the first time you're joining us, this is the way that I like to use these measuring cups, by placing it on a paper, on a baking sheet or parchment paper, just so that it's easier for me to like handle it afterwards. You can also do it on a plate or in a bowl, but I find that a bit difficult when I want to move it into the mixing bowl or the mixer. Just gonna measure my sugar, my caster sugar.
Caster sugar. But coming back to using the parchment paper, which I agree with Chef, because I did the batik cake recipe using a bowl when I was measuring, right? So I did find it a bit challenging to put it back into the other bowls because it doesn't fall in nicely. But as with the parchment paper, when you have it already on the paper, you just lift it up, it just slides off nicely into the bowl. So it's not messy.
Yeah.
That's why I think, like she said, use the parchment paper, way better.
So I normally, another tip, okay, when you're at home, what you can do when using these this mold is you can tape it. Okay, once you've attached it, tape it so it doesn't open up like just now. I didn't tape it because I wanted to show you guys how to attach it, but no worries, okay? Just pull it back in. There we go. There we go, and it's almost done. Okay, a little bit more sugar. So it's 70 grams of sugar, of caster sugar. It's not so much. Okay, a little bit more.
Make sure you even it out.
Just even it out.
To the top, to the brim.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, and then you remove the measuring cup, and that is the amount of sugar you'll be using.
Yes.
So,
watch after this when she transfer it into that bowl.
Exactly.
So excited.
So over here we've got a box of Philadelphia cream cheese. I'm just gonna throw it in the mixer, the cake mixer. So for this recipe, it's best for you to use a mixer, a cake mixer. so that it's faster, especially in the month of Ramadan. Quite tiring if you were to use your hands.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a cake mixer, you can use your hands, or you can even use a blender. But just make sure the blender is clean and you didn't just like blend chili, because that's gonna give you like a whole funky different flavor. So
or you can get your nieces or nephew to actually help you with mixing it. I don't know what you call it.
all the best. I don't know if you will actually get the final product, because they might just eat everything along the way. So I'm just gonna add the cream cheese, a block of cream cheese, which is 250 grams, and just clean it. So don't X all the balance.
Make sure you use everything.
Everything.
Don't waste it.
And I'm just gonna break it into 4 big pieces just using my spatula. You don't have to, you can just throw the whole thing in. Honestly, it's such an easy recipe. I dropped some. Alright, and then the sugar goes in.
Check
Easy.
it out. Ta-da!
Ta-da!
There you
Really
go.
easy. So for this recipe, you're only measuring 1 ingredient in the mold, but the other recipes, we measured quite a few, like there's 3 and 2 and such. And okay, and a tablespoon of vanilla essence. Another tip, remember we were talking about vanilla essence?
Yep.
And how there's so many different types of vanilla essence out there in the market. You just have to be careful, because the real vanilla essence normally contains alcohol. So when you're buying your vanilla essence, make sure you just read the ingredients, because the real ones, they have to use alcohol to extract the vanilla, the vanilla bean. All right. And our eggs. So I'm using 1 egg yolk, which I've separated.
Is that like a special way for you to separate the egg yolk?
You can use, okay, the easiest way is to use your hand.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, just crack it, just crack the egg on top of your hand and just hold the yolk in and the white will come out.
Oh.
Given if it's fresh eggs, of course.
Yeah.
1 egg yolk. And I'm using grade A eggs and 2 whole eggs.
2 whole eggs.
Okay. So 1 egg yolk and 2 whole eggs. Alright. And we're gonna close this, and we are going to beat this until it's nice and combined. So we're gonna start slow, so the egg won't go everywhere, and then gradually increase the speed. And at the same time, if you're baking together, this is the time for you to heat your oven. So you want to heat your oven at 220 degrees Celsius at fan setting.
At what?
Fan setting.
Oh, fan setting. I'm sorry. I couldn't hear because of the machine.
Yeah. So, like right now, this oven, it has a fan.
Okay.
Although it's a small oven, but it has a fan on the side.
Right.
So you want the fan setting. But if you don't have an oven with a fan setting, you only have the heating coil at the top and the bottom like this. You can see the bottom and the top heating coils. You can also use that, but I would suggest use it at 200 degrees Celsius instead of 220.
Okay.
Because the fan will actually help distribute the heat in the oven, so it will cook evenly. But the thing about Basque burnt cheesecake is you kind of do want the top and the bottom and the side to cook more than the center.
Right.
So that's why you don't cook it for a very long time.
So for those who actually have like a convection oven like myself, how is that going to work if I wanted the top to burn slightly more than the rest of the area?
No, you just set it at 220 degrees Celsius. The top will burn, because the normal temperature to bake other cakes would be between 180 to 190.
Okay.
So 220 is really high, and that is the purpose is to get that burn part at the top.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to try this. You guys need them to participate as well. you too, you should do that with your children, you know, get them to be part of the whole baking session so that when the cake is ready, you can get them to go and show off to their friends and even their family members. And don't forget to also tag us, take a photo, tag us, tag Cadbury, tag Nick, Chef Anis, myself, who would love to see the end result.
Exactly. So I'm just going to slightly increase the speed now, so that it doesn't clump up, the cheese won't clump up. Okay, we have time for some questions, I think.
I think we can do some questions right now. Again, please keep those questions coming in. All right, Chef, what are you most excited and looking forward to this Hari Raya?
Ooh, what am I most excited? And a gathering with the family, cooking with the family. Actually, last year, because we all lived very close to one another, I did see my family last year on Raya, but we were only allowed to see each other for 2 days, I think, if I'm not mistaken, because it was like the case was really high last Raya, and you know there were talks about another lockdown and such. So I'm just so excited to be with my family, to cook with them, and to eat with them, because that is essentially, that's Raya for me. Just gathering and cooking and eating together.
Yeah, for me, it's just the gathering.
Say again?
For me, it's just the gathering.
It's gathering.
Nice.
No eating?
We eat, but mainly, you know, yeah, we have food and all that. But the gathering is the most important thing for us, you know, to catch up and talk.
Of course.
And also, we're all very small eaters. You have like a lot of food. But then if people come and they say, hey, how come you guys are not eating? Padahal we're like, oh my God, we ate so much. You know, that's Hari Raya for my family, right? Okay, move on to the next question. What's your tip top when hosting an open house to ensure everyone has a great time?
Ooh, the top tip when hosting an open house. I think you gotta prep in advance. I think, okay, if you're cooking, like for me, I do all the cooking. When I invite people over, I do all the cooking. So the prepping starts a day or two before. So it's just like easy things, like, you know, peeling your vegetables, just slicing them, keeping them in the fridge, like knowing, so that you know whatever you need is already there and already prepped. So come the day itself, all you need to do is just assemble everything or cook everything, and you will have enough time to be with your guests and such. Another tip is to have, you know, the heater, the server with the heater.
Oh yes,
like
yes,
the
I've
dish
seen that.
with the heater.
Yeah.
I think that's a good tip, because sometimes like you see people serving rendang all day long.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes the food is just sitting out there for many hours and it's not being heated. So it's good to have that, so that you know that your food is constantly heated and it's always fresh.
Yeah, that is actually something good to have in every household, in my opinion. All right, next one. What's your trick to get separate egg yolks? Oh, we spoke about that just now.
Yes, the best thing to do is use your hands. Or if you don't, like my mother, and I learned this at a very young age. So she cracks the shell, right? I don't know, have we got an egg? Do we have an egg to show? We've got an egg. Okay.
Hey, live demonstration on how we can separate the egg yolk from that white stuff. What do you call that? I don't know. I just eat them. Again, everyone, don't forget, later I'm going to be telling you more about the exclusive Shopee vouchers, okay? You want to stick around because it is going to help you in your baking for sure.
Okay, I'll show this, okay? So what my mom likes to do, and this is, okay, one of the tips that I like sharing is, first, never wash your eggs.
Oh,
Don't wash your eggs and then keep it in the fridge, okay? Don't do that, because the eggshells are porous. So it's like our skin, it can absorb moisture. So if you wash your eggs and then you keep it in the fridge and such, the eggs will actually absorb the bacteria around it. So you don't want that, okay? And for in Malaysia, what I like to do is I like to keep my eggs in the fridge, especially if I'm poaching them and stuff, because our country again is very hot. So the eggs is introduced to a hot climate. When the hens, they lay their eggs, it's introduced in hot climates because we don't really have farms that's air conditioned and such. So the eggs are introduced in hot climate, therefore it affects the consistency of the eggs. It's a little bit on the runny side. Then if you compare the eggs like overseas, like in Western country, in cold country, really different. So don't wash your eggs.
Wow, that's a really good tip. Don't wash your eggs.
Okay, another thing is I don't like to crack my egg on the rim of the bowl or the pot, because what you do is you will actually like crack a line, and sometimes there will be like tiny pieces of eggshells that would actually go into your egg, and that will contaminate your egg. So what I like doing is crack it on a flat surface like that, so there's no line. And just put my thumbs in
And open.
and crack it open. Okay, so this is what my mom does when she's separating her eggs. She crack one side, put it like that, and then
transfer it.
move the yolk into this side, like that. Can you see? I don't know if you guys can see. And then scoop the yolk again into this side, like just sort of pouring out all the white. So now you've got a nice yolk
Yeah.
in the shell.
I remember my mother did that too. I think it's their generation way of doing things.
Yeah, you don't really need an egg separator, you know. Another way is to use your hands. Crack it open and just use your hands.
And just get rid of the egg white.
So this is a very easy way.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you have it. It's so easy, and you don't need, like Chef said, you don't need some special equipment or tool for you to separate the egg yolk and the egg white. So, question, back to the egg question. You said don't wash the egg. You personally would keep your eggs in the fridge.
Yes.
Let's say, can you wash it just before you use it?
Yes, you can.
Oh, okay.
You can wash it just before using it.
That is the right way to do it.
Don't wash it. The right thing to say is don't wash it in advance and then store it. Don't wash it before storing.
Okay. I think a lot of people tend to do that.
Yes, because I get it, because you want it clean, right?
Yep.
So of course we do want it clean, but don't wash it. And if you really cannot stand, because people like me, you know, I like to move it in the egg container in the fridge, right? Because we have that on the side.
Yeah.
And so you want it clean, and then you wash it. Just don't do it. Don't do that. It's either you just arrange it in, or if you really cannot handle the dirt around the shells, there's actually a brush that you can buy, like an egg cleaner brush, or you can even use like a toothbrush that you're no longer
scrape
using.
whatever
Just
that's
scrape
there.
it off. Yeah. That would be the best way.
Okay, we're going to continue with the questions a little bit later. Now we're going to continue with our baking.
Okay, I just want to show you guys really quickly what it looks like. So this is what the mixture looks like at the moment. Okay, and you don't want any lumps or clumps of cream cheese anymore. So that's why I had to go on high speed. So if you don't have a cake mixer, you can do this in a blender. You can do this in a food processor. In fact, in a food processor and blender, it would take a shorter amount of time than using a cake mixer. So normally, why you make cake in a cake mixer instead of a blender or a food processor is because you use flour, regular flour. And regular flour, when you work it too much, you will activate gluten. So that is going to make your cake a bit on the chewy side, although it's got nothing to do with this recipe, but I'm just sharing it with you guys. So this recipe doesn't call for regular flour, no wheat flour, so it's just cornstarch. So it's okay for you to beat it a little longer, or for you to use blender or a food processor.
Okay, got it.
All right, so now we're gonna add this into that.
The chocolate mixer.
Yeah.
Mixture, not mixer, mixture. Yum. We're like halfway through. Not even halfway through. We're probably more than halfway through. This is definitely, for me, my personal opinion, looks so much simpler than the ones I've baked before. But again, every person would experience different things when they start baking. For a person who's like me, a first timer, it is so much fun using the Cadbury baking sheets because, as mentioned, it's so easy, it's doable, and you don't have to worry about having excess ingredients like the eggs and the butter and stuff like that. So I love it.
Yes, it is so much fun, isn't it? All right, so now we're just gonna beat this to combine. So this is like going to take about 2 more minutes.
Okay.
Not even 2 more minutes. It's like probably like a minute.
You just want to mix it all together.
Yes,
And that's it.
exactly.
That's all you need. You don't have to spend too much time there. Oh, again, a reminder, we will be giving away an exclusive Shopee voucher at the end of this live streaming. So be sure to wait for the information. Right now, if you guys are actually enjoying this particular session and if you're also baking at the same time, give us a reaction, give us a heart, give us a clap, give us a thumbs up. We would like to see your reaction as well. But if you're not going to use that, you can always use the emoticons or even type it on the chat box, all right? Ask questions, be interactive because we don't know when we're going to do this again. And we don't know when we're going to get Chef Anis to actually share with us all these baking tips, you know?
I did, I think for 4 years, I did a baking show every Ramadan and Raya. It was fun. It was an experience. So even like, cause I'm not a baker. I don't know if people know that. I'm not a baker, but I've always loved baking. And I did work in a pastry kitchen for a bit before starting TV. And I loved it so much. And I find that the best way for you to improve your baking skills is to actually ask questions. And I used to have like a notebook and I would follow my boss around literally everywhere. Like, why are you doing this? Like sometimes it's just like the most ridiculous question. Like, why do you pour it in certain ways? But there's actually reasons behind every little thing that like chefs especially, why they do certain things. It's not just, oh, this is just how I like doing it. Yeah, there's a reason behind it, and all you need to do is just ask questions because sometimes people don't tell you like why they do certain things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that. I feel like the best way to improve your skill is by asking plenty of questions.
With that said, don't forget to post it on our chat box, okay? We've got more questions to be answered a little bit later, but we welcome more.
Okay, I'm just gonna remove the whisk. All
right, can't wait. Now I think it's about time that we're going to be pouring that into the cupcake cup. I don't know. Cup.
I've got the paper cups.
Paper cups, there you go.
And so for this recipe, it depends on the size of your paper cups. I only managed to get these little cute ones. So I can actually make about 12 of these. So let me just count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Oh, that's 14 over there. So roughly about 12. And you want to pour it as you don't really, you know, like most cakes, you have to leave a little bit of room, like an inch or so, or you have to fill it up 3/4 of the pan or slightly more than that. For this particular recipe, because there's no leavening agent or there's no like baking powder or whatever, so it wouldn't actually rise so much.
All right.
It would slightly rise because there's eggs, but not like so much. It will rise and sort of like collapse in the center because that is what you want.
Right.
So you don't want to bake it. Okay, so for this recipe, they actually say between 12 to 15 minutes. But I find that if you want that nice creamy center, 10 minutes is enough. But if you don't like that creamy, or like some people think that it's not cooked properly, you can cook it all the way through. 12 minutes, 15 minutes is absolutely fine. But for this size, I think 10 minutes is perfect.
Okay.
All right, so now we're just gonna scoop it out. So the batter is a bit on the runny side, and it's okay because it's meant to be a bit on the runny side.
Question. Let's say, like you're doing in the paper cups, right?
Yes.
And then you realize, oh my gosh, I've run out of paper cups. Can you actually keep the remaining batter in the fridge?
I wouldn't suggest, only because there's a lot of components, there's a lot of ingredients in the batter, like eggs and cream and stuff. And these things will sort of separate if it sits in the fridge. And of course, you can mix it, but keeping raw eggs mixed with stuff is not, I wouldn't advise that, because I don't think it's very safe.
Okay. So again, if you have questions like that, do put it on the chat box. Okay, we're going to answer them a little bit later. Or maybe we could answer it now while you're pouring that into the cup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So how do you know when the mixture or chocolate batter is ready?
When there's no more lumps of cheese, cream cheese.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, a bit personal now. Where's your kampong?
Actually, my kampong, kampong is technically where my parents are, and my parents are in KL. So my kampong is technically in KL, but my mother's kampong is in Penang, and my father's kampong is in Perak. But we haven't gone back because our grandparents are no longer around. So we've just been celebrating it with the family at home in Kuala Lumpur.
Ah, anak mami.
My mother lah, anak mami. Actually, she might join us today. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah.
Hi,
Auntie,
Mom.
if you're joining, send us a message.
Hi, Mom. Oh, she might do it on her phone. I wouldn't know how to do this. But hi, Mom. Sharing some of your tips.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, next question. What's your favorite thing about baking kuih raya for your loved ones, family, and friends?
I think it's very therapeutic for me. A lot of before I'm like very, very, very busy, right? I used to bake quite a bit. Like I like making biscuits. Like right now, I would get my sister to do it because I'm always so busy. But before this, I loved making cookies and biscuits on my own. And the part where you have to like shape the biscuits, gentle biscuit too. A lot of people don't like that, but I like it because I find it very therapeutic. It's just like repeating the same steps over and over again.
So baking is therapeutic for you, just like how for some people cleaning the house is therapeutic, cooking is therapeutic.
Yes, cooking is also therapeutic for me, but baking there's a whole, it's just repeating the same steps over and over again. I think that's fun, like especially if you just let your mind wander. It's like your body's just moving but your mind is going everywhere, thinking about how happy your relatives or your loved ones would be when they receive your biscuits and such. I like that.
That's nice. Okay, next one. What was the first kuih raya you learned how to make?
Wow.
Kuih raya,
the first one I learned from my mother. Let me think. There's a few lah. Oh.
Now you have to pick one.
Wait, from my mom, I think it would have been this thing. It's this biscuit, if I'm not mistaken lah. Okay, it's this biscuit. It's called Honey Japan, which is basically like almond London. And I don't know why all these cookies in Malaysia we've got like names of countries and cities. It's just like almond London, but it has no almond in the center,
Uh-huh.
and the dough is made with honey.
Ooh.
And then you top it off with chocolate and almond nips. So I think is that one. I'm pretty
Wow.
it might be.
Sounds-
or probably like kueh makmur. I cannot remember.
That first one you just mentioned sounds very difficult.
It's not. It's just like like almond London. It's just called honey Japan.
Honey Japan.
You know, my mom, she used to back then, because she used to bake a lot as well. She used to take cake orders and such. So that's how I learned how to bake from her.
Mm-hmm.
And she would subscribe to all these like cooking, baking magazine.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like from Australia, from America, and she would buy like all these utensils that comes with the magazine. So I remember being very like intrigued by those things, you know, growing
Yeah.
up. Like, what is this? It looks like a toy, but it's not. So yeah, I think that's where all this interest developed, really.
Okay. Oh my gosh, we have it. We have your mom. Yes, Chef's mom. She said hi,
Yes.
sayang. Aww.
Yeah, that's my mom. Hi, mom.
Love it.
Okay.
Okay. Another question.
That's it, mom. This cannot embarrass me.
Okay, so she's not allowed to type in anymore in the chat box. Jahat. Okay, next question. Kueh Raya are always changing trends. What do you think will be the next popular trend of Kueh Raya?
Popular trend of Kueh Raya. What's that mean?
I don't know. I know, like, okay, we have the typical Kueh Raya, like you said, Kueh Makmur, and I don't know the rest of the name. I just know how to eat them. But this past
Like-
few years, you know how they have that rainbow color biscuits?
Oh, like the cat's tongue and stuff.
I don't know what it's
So,
called.
like, the question is, what's the next popular trend? Is it next popular trend of baking, or the next popular Kueh Raya that's going to be like...
Yeah, next popular trend of Kueh Raya.
Really, I don't know. I cannot predict. But you know, a few years ago, I actually developed, many years ago, I think about 5-6 years ago, I made this onde. I make biscuit raya, but using the flavors of onde. So I developed that. The year after that, it was like everywhere.
Wow.
So
You
I don't
created
know.
that.
It's very hard to say I created it, although I did create my particular recipe. But you know. But I think a lot of chocolate, because people do love chocolate, like cookies with chocolate. People do love chocolate like this. Like, we're moving. The trend is actually changing. It's not so much more of biscuits anymore. It's also like cakes and such. So if I'm hoping, I love butter cookies, and like the
Yes.
combination of butter cookies and chocolate is always a great idea for me. So
Wow.
you know, perhaps, who knows?
Wow, butter cookies, yes, I
So-
love them. Oops,
I made a mistake. It's not even 12. Wait, 2, 4, 6,
It's
8,
11.
10. It's 11. And 11, not even 11 full. It's
Yeah.
just like, but it varies, like, it depends on the size of your paper cups.
yeah.
So I'm just going to put this in. I've heated the oven at 220 degrees Celsius. And it's okay if it's like close to one another, because it won't really like stick to one another. But just in case, I'm just going to give it just a little bit of space. Just like that. All right. That's enough. And we're going to pop it in. And we're going to let this bake for 10 minutes. Okay?
10 minutes.
10 minutes only. But after the 10 minutes, hold on, let me set my timer. Okay, because I don't want to overcook this. I think that is 10. Okay. So after the 10 minutes, you cannot serve it immediately. You have to let it cool completely. And cooling it down will take about 2 hours before you actually eat it. Don't cut it, don't touch it, because it's the moment you take it out, it's meant to still be jiggly.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then when you rest it, it will be puffed up. When you take it out, it will be puffed up. But you need to rest it for 2 hours. So when you're resting it for 2 hours, it will collapse. and that is fine. Don't worry about it collapsing, cracking at the top, because that is what Basque burnt cheesecake is supposed to look like, and
Right.
that is what's supposed to happen. But of course, we've
There's
got
a
the
but.
ready ones.
We've got TV magic as always.
Of course, and you can see. So this is not very much burned, only because I didn't want it to be very burned, because you know it's already chocolate and I don't want it to affect the color. But this is what I mean by it would sort of collapse in the center, and that is what you want. Okay, you want it to sort of go down in the center.
Wow.
Beautiful. And I'm gonna show it to you. Wait, I'm gonna plate it. Okay,
You're gonna what?
plate it.
Oh, plate it. Okay. Right. So everyone have a look at the ready Basque cheesecake.
Yes.
Very, very nice. So the inside is going to be a bit soft, is it?
Yes.
Ooh, wow. So again, if you are baking this, when it's done, please take a photo and tag Chef Anis Nabila, Anis_Nabila. You can tag me too, Zors, ZURRS, and of course don't forget to tag Cadbury My as well. And don't forget to share it with your friends and family too, okay? Because as we all know, why we're doing this is so that we can bake our own cookies and send it over to our family members, our loved ones, because we want to bake from the heart. This whole theme is all about having the heart.
All right. So because this is what do you call that? A smaller cake, right? Because it's a smaller cake, I like to serve it with some cream and some shaved Cadbury Dairy milk chocolate. You can also like chop it up, chop the chocolate up. You can also melt it. It's completely up to you. But this is like an easy way for you to present, you know, when you're doing your open house.
Okay, wait, question. Right now, we're doing it in a cup, a small cup, right?
Yes.
You told me just now, oh, I should try doing it in like a cake.
Yes.
So you put it in that circular mold?
Yes. So, okay, so for this, because this recipe, the batter is not so much. So I would suggest you using about an 6-inch more cake pan. And the best is to use the springform pan, which is the one that you can remove the bottom.
Oh, okay.
So it's easier for you to manage. And line it with paper, parchment paper inside, and use a 6-inch, and then you bake it at 220 degrees Celsius for about, I would say 20 minutes.
20 minutes. You know how some recipes, like for cookies, like what I do, what I learned from my sister, when you put the cookie dough on top of the pan, you would put butter on it so that it doesn't stick, right? So if you were to do that with this, is it going to affect the taste?
You don't have to do that because you have your parchment paper.
Ah, okay. Cool. So this is how you plate it.
Yes.
Oh, look at that.
Very easy. So you just shave a little bit of Cadbury chocolate. I kept my Cadbury Dairy Milk chocolate in the fridge, so it's easy for me to shave it.
Sure. That whipping cream that that's in the bowl, did you do anything to it, or
No,
it's
I just whipped it.
Oh, okay.
How cute is that?
Cute.
So cute. So cute. Can I get a knife, please? Yeah, I just want to show you guys. Let me cut one off. Cut one out so I can show you. Let's do this one.
Oh, look at that.
So you can see the cake is so moist. I love it so much. This one, like 2 bites is done. So you can see the creamy center?
Yep.
So this is what you're looking for. You want that creamy.
Ah, right.
It's still like runny, but I kept this in a fridge, so it's still a bit sejuk. But you can see. You see? That's what you want. You want the creamy center. And 10 minutes is how long you need to bake it for to get the nice, beautiful, creamy center.
Okay.
All right.
Got it. So pretty. Look at that final plating right there.
Cute. It's just
very, very
fun.
cute.
And it's like, it's so impressive, right? Like if your guest comes over
Yeah.
and then you just do that. That alone is enough. You don't really need so much. And the taste is phenomenal.
I can't wait to try it. Okay, now I think we have more questions, Chef. Would like to answer them. First one. What is the difference between cupcake and muffin?
Oh wow. A lot of difference. Muffins normally you either use a mixture of oil and butter, melted butter, or just oil. Some people like to use just oil. It's a lot lighter in terms of texture, whereas cake mostly you will use butter.
Oh.
There are some cakes that's you have to use melted butter, but generally I'm talking about basic cakes like butter cakes and such. It's normally softened butter, not melted butter, because melted butter would give a different texture to your cakes. Muffin uses a combination of oil and melted butter, or just oil, because it's lighter.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, important information. Next question. How to be sure if it's not undercooked in the center?
You gotta time it. You have to time your baking. Okay. If you're using this, don't go any more than 15 minutes. If you're using a bigger paper cup, still don't go any more than 15 minutes. So like this is a, how many inches this? 2-inch paper cup, and I am only baking it for 10 minutes. So if you want like a foolproof result, I think it's best that you find the same size cup and bake it for the same amount of time.
Nice. Okay. It's still, I can see that it's risen a little bit.
Yes.
So
But it's okay, we don't have to wait for this.
Yeah.
This one is for us to have later for buka
For buka puasa. Oh, question. You said you have to let it cool for 2 hours, right?
Yes.
So if you were to, once it's ready, if you were to put it in the fridge to help it cool down, would it be okay? Or preferably not?
I won't suggest to keep anything like really hot in the fridge straight away, because that is going to ruin your fridge as well.
Okay.
So let it cool slightly, like when it's no longer hot, it's just warm, then you can keep it in the fridge.
Okay.
Yeah. But try another tip that I'm so sorry I forgot to mention is try not to move it so much, especially if you're making a whole big cake instead of smaller ones. So don't go like, oh, take this out and then take this, put it there, don't go moving it too much, because that is going to collapse, but it's not going to collapse in a good way, and you don't want that. Okay, you want it to just for the temperature to sort of like go down on its own gradually, so for everything to just set on its own. Baking is a lot of that, waiting for things to set. So you have to be patient, and you have to let it sit and let the surrounding does its work.
Okay, thank you very much, Chef, for all the wonderful tips. Now, I think we're pretty much done. As you
Yes.
can see, Chef has already done its plating right there. We
Yes.
just cannot wait to taste it after we buka puasa. But now, I mentioned to you earlier on that we've got an exclusive giveaway, right? So it is the Shopee voucher, exclusive Shopee voucher. The code is already on the chat box. What you need to do is just use them. All right, because this voucher is going to give you 5 ringgit off of your next purchase of Cadbury and even Oreo products. All right, and this is going to give you 6 ringgit off. Oh, sorry, a minimum purchase of 6 ringgit. Yes, that's right. And this voucher is actually valid from today only until 1 week when it starts. Okay, so the tip is, now that you've got the code, use it straight away. Don't wait, because it's going to be first come first serve. All right, so again, 5 ringgit off of your next purchase with a minimum spend of 6 ringgit, and it's only going to last from today until the 7th day. That's it, 1 week. All right,
Yes.
so that is our giveaway. And of course, thank you so much, Chef, for all the
Thank
wonderful
you.
tips, for baking together with us, and for you as well.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. So if you guys missed the previous 2 sessions, you can get the recipe from the baking sheets. You can There's 6 altogether, 6 baking sheets with 6 different types of delicious recipes. And there are more recipes on the website itself.
Correct. All you need to do is just follow Cadbury My on Instagram, even on Facebook, or you can just go to the website to get all the recipes like Chef has already mentioned. We're just very excited and eager, and I'm excited to actually start baking this one with my son, and hopefully, you know, make this an event or an occasion for me to bond with my child even more.
Oh, I love that. And if you need any help whatsoever, I'm just a call away.
Thank you very
much. I'll
much.
be more than happy to give you like a personal one-on-one tips.
Yes! Oh, how lucky am I, right? Again, thank you so much everyone for participating and for joining us from the first, second, and even now to the finale of the Cadbury Raya baking live stream. We really appreciate your time, and we hope that you have actually enjoyed yourself and gained a lot of value from this sharing session that we've had. And again, when you're done with the baking, don't forget to take a photo, tag Cadbury My, tag Chef Anis_Nabila, tag me ZURRS, and start giving your kuih raya dari hati to all your friends and family members as well, okay? So until we meet again, I don't know when, hopefully soon.
Hopefully.
You guys stay safe. Selamat Hari Raya in advance and selamat berbuka puasa. My name is Azura, and
Selamat Hari Raya, everyone. Selamat Hari Raya in advance. I hope you guys will bake dari hati, buat kuih raya dari hati, and have a safe journey wherever you guys are going, and stay safe. And bye, Mom. Love you.
Bye, Mom. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Bye,
everyone.